you're super nice and you're friend zoned, right? And that's not what you want. But if you're always negative, you're going to become an asshole and you're going to have no friends, right? If you want to find a girlfriend with online dating, you need to be able to have a decent profile, but you also need to know how to do texting on the dating apps. Now, obviously, like you can watch a lot of videos about opening lines, but let's go through some conversations so you can actually know where things went wrong and the things that went well. So the first conversation was with Mariana. So the notes are that she's a hot girl and on her profile, she was wearing a lot of dresses. So the opening message was, do you only wear dresses or are there any pants hidden in there somewhere? This is a question with a bit of entertainment in it, right? Because like when you say like hidden in there, it's a lot more interesting than like, do you also wear pants? So the way that you say things actually matter. And for this, she actually replied to the message and she stated, I actually wear more pants than dresses. So she replied to the cold read question because we were thinking the wrong thing, right? That's why she added this emoji. So now we replied to that with, cool, but on our date, please wear a dress. All right, so what you need to understand is this is demand, right? Like we're asking her like, hey, please wear a dress. We're demanding something of somebody and it's not necessarily always a bad thing. The only thing that you need to take into consideration is, do you have enough brownie points in order to ask for a demand, in this case, to wear a dress? So the problem in this scenario is that we can only ask for X if we actually have Y. So if we have a certain level of status or she likes us enough, right? The next line is like Brazilian hot. So when are you going to teach me some samba moves? And if you understand what's going on now, this is actually another demand. So we have a demand in one message and a demand in the second message. So the way that she will reply to it and what she thinks right now is, I just met this guy and he's ordering me to wear a dress and to teach him samba. And this is just after me sending one message and I don't know anything about the guy, right? So for her, it's like, I don't want to do this. Now, if we're Brad Pitt, she will probably reply like, yeah, sure. We're Justin Bieber, she'll like, yes, please send me your hotel room and I'll come over. But in online dating, that's not the value status that you have. So what would be an alternative message in order for us to still succeed in this conversation if we wouldn't have sent it, right? This is what I've come up with. So the dresses are for special occasions with a winky face. Let's see if our cute date will be one. By the way, you must be killer at samba, right? So this is a lot more playful, a lot more teasing and fun, as in like, let's see if you're going to dress up for our cute first date. Understand that like I wrote on purpose cute first date, not just first date. Every word within online dating and within texting matters. Now, can you come up with potentially like an even better line? Yeah, sure. If you spend 20 hours on it, you can come up potentially with a better line. But the success rate on this message would have been like 10 times higher than these messages. So the second conversation actually happened after a real life meetup. He's trying to close her to grab food together. She wants certain Indian food, right? So this is what has been said. Saying we should get biryani one of these days. And she replies with caps, which is a good indicator that she's happy about it, right? She replies with it. So first, let's cover the first message. If you're trying to close a girl, what you don't want to do is like, hey, let's meet Saturday at like 5 p.m. for a coffee at this and this place. You first want to figure out, hey, is she even down to meet you yet or not? Because like women have different levels of comfort that they need. And if her comfort is not at that certain level yet, you're going to go wrong. So here she's like, from where? Okay, so she seems very excited about the idea of having that food, but wants to know where from, right? Makes sense, right? So he replies with Adele. So this is a very logical reply. This is permission-based with the question mark. Instead of that, he could have said like, oh, let's go to Adele. So instead of this, instead of leading here, we're like, are you okay with going to Adele? And because he asks her, hey, are you okay with going to Adele? She has like, I have no idea what it is. Is it in Brooklyn? So this is, because it's permission-based question, she's trying to get involved and figure out if it's a good fit or not. If it would have taken charge, it would have likely not have happened. So this is an important lesson. So here he explains where it is. It's on 43rd near Radio City Music Hall. More logical talk. The issue to talk about logistics is that's often very boring, right? So you can have a very interesting conversation, but when it comes down to actually going for the date and setting that up, often like you need to have a little bit more logic included into the conversation, which also includes a lot more boring things. And because it's more boring, there's also a decent chance for things to drop out and her not becoming interesting again. Because if you send like 20 back and forth messages about trying to schedule a date, it's like the spark goes away, the magic goes away. So in those situations, either close fast or still try to intertwine some interesting elements into it. Oh, okay, have you been before? Like, she seems fine with the location, and she asks if he's been there before in order to find out if it's good, right? If he's never been before, is different from when he has been. And here he replies with yup, and it's like too enthusiastic, no leading. A better message would be like, yeah, it's great, I can do Saturday or Sunday, let me know which one suits you, right? Again, this would be a situation where we'd be leading. Instead of that, we're just giving enough information based on the question she's asking, and besides that, not doing anything. Like, this is just not a very good message, because now she's asking again, oh, rating 1 to 10. Like, we're having a whole conversation that we should not be having at this moment. Because there's no leading, she shows up another hurdle, right? Now, he replies with 9.89, which is kind of funny. It's actually not a bad message. But again, there's no leading, there's no follow-up, there's no nothing, right? So like, what's she supposed to reply? Like, the only thing she's gonna reply to that is like yes, or throw up another hurdle. That's kind of like the only two things that is possible for her to do. So now she says so specific with a dead emoji, and apparently the dead emoji, it means it's funny or something. Lol, come and see for yourself. Please just agree and come to date me. Like, that's the kind of like non-verbal communication that you give off of when you say something along these lines of like, lol, come and see for yourself. Like, he's a little bit like annoyed with the fact that she's not just agreeing, but the fact that she's not agreeing comes from the fact that he's not leading, right? Now she's perhaps I need a convincing argument. Now this is interesting. So she price frames herself, right? As if she needs to be convinced in order to go somewhere, portraying that she is a prize and needs to be convinced to go out with a peasant. Him, right? This is a massive shit test, and if you don't deal with this in a good way, you're messed up. Like, you could have had like an amazing interaction, all that kind of stuff, but if she doesn't feel that you have a certain level of power and a certain level of ability to lead and take care of her and all those kind of things, you are not going to have a good time. I'm not saying this when I say like you should be able to take care of her. I'm not saying that you should be a millionaire and all that kind of stuff, but you should be able to lead a conversation and lead a girl. Otherwise, she does not feel like you have the ability to protect her. Lol, what would it take to convince you? This is a horrible message. So you fall hard for it and fail the shit test. Here you're behaving like the peasant that she was framing you to be and complying with the queen's request, right? So this is overall just horrible request. If you would have, let's say, a totem pole of like who has value and who has not, right? So let's say you have a totem pole of who has value and who has not, right? And here you have the queen, and down here you have the peasant level. Like, you might have started like the guy might be here and the girl might be here. Through this conversation, like, he went this way and she went this way. So this is a big problem, because now you're just dealing with a scenario where like you're losing value constantly. And by, let's say you have this hurdle, right? If this hurdle would have happened, the hurdle like here, like I need a convincing argument, if you would have dealt with it with a better way, your value would have gone up. Yet you didn't dealt with it in the right way, therefore your value goes down. So it's very important that when the conversation happens, like, she wants to figure out like, hey, where in this totem pole is he, right? So let's say she wants to find a guy that's here. Why would she want to find a guy that's here? Nobody wants to do that. And the messed up part is like, girls will send you messages and they will try to find out where you are. And the way that they will do it is not in a nice way. So they will test it in a way of like shit testing you and throwing shit at you. And the only reason why they do this is because they want to find out where you are. You might have been here before. If you fail, you go all the way down. So what's the solution to this problem? Learn how to deal with these shit tests. We actually have a video about like how to deal with shit tests. Please watch that video. Girls, whatever they are on this totem pole, they always want a guy that's above them. Always. Now, obviously, the higher the girl is, the higher the guy needs to be, right? That's why you rarely see a girl that is successful deal with a guy that's a complete loser, that doesn't know how to lead, that's not funny, like all those kind of things. But you need to understand that you don't need to have power and $1 billion in the bank in order to do this. Comedians are so good with their words that they're able to get to this stage purely because of the way that they talk. So understand that you don't need a lot of the things that people are flexing on Instagram. Purely if you're able to like communicate with people, you're already better than 99% of the people. But most people are not able to communicate. So you fall hard for it and you fail the shit test. Here you're behaving like a peasant and replying with the queen's request. And then she replies like, I don't know, you tell me. This is another shit test. Like she wants to be convinced, and like she doesn't even want to put in the effort to figure out how to be convinced, right? Come up with it. What's required takes energy, right? It takes her energy to be like, oh, what do I want this guy to do? Because she doesn't want to put in that energy. She's just like, therefore, how about you come up with it? How about you figure it out? You figure out how you need to impress me. Therefore, she wants you to do that, more prize framing, and another test. This actually is a decent reply, right? So even though the message is decent, it's quite late. Okay, so the message is like, what part of biryani with a handsome dude with a good sense of humor doesn't convince you, right? So these are some valid arguments to make, right? Like here, like he portrays himself as a handsome dude, sense of humor. This is all good, but like we should have had that in this conversation, and we had neither fun nor like leading. So that's just how things are messed up. Right now, it's just a little bit too late, where like within a conversation, you have a certain timer. And right now the timer kind of like ran out to the point where the conversation is very much dead. Interesting, I'll think about it. Right here, we see she budges a bit because we sent a good message. Finally, after 10 messages, we send a good message. But now it's time to follow up with it with another good message, right? So here we could have sent, for example, sure, you got 24 hours to make up your mind with a cheeky emoji, right? If you forget to do this cheeky emoji, you might sound like a rude asshole. So she understands that you're just playing, teasing. That whole aspect, that's what would happen here, right? And then she can make up her mind herself. We go a little bit higher up the hierarchy scale, right? Where before, like it was going down and down and down. Now we're like, with this message and with this message, we went from like here all the way to, let's say, this area. And then the question is like, if she finds this enough to deal with her, because if she thinks here, it might not work out. If she thinks it's here, it will work out. Okay, so leading in conversations is very important. When you're a guy in China, meet a girl, get a girlfriend, all those kind of things, it's very important that you're able to lead in the conversation so it doesn't seem you as an accessory. Next thing is women want the guy to be higher status than them. Men want the same thing. As a guy, you also want to be here. You don't want to have a girl that's higher status as you, because this creates a lot of mental struggle. Like you'll see a lot of men, once they have a girlfriend that's higher status, they will struggle with that because the ego gets hurt. And when the ego gets hurt, guys are often not very good with it. Wars get fought over egos that are hurt. So in general, the woman wants the guy to have higher status and the girl wants the guy to have higher status, right? So women will sabotage the interactions if the guy seems weak, right? She might have been very interested in the beginning, but if you come across as a very weak person, the woman will sabotage her own interaction because she's like, I need to figure out if he's strong enough. And even if she might have liked him in the beginning, and even though the status hierarchy might have been good in the beginning, she will sabotage this if she smells weakness. The third conversation is some problem with texting. So her bio says something along the lines is that she had a fear for spiders. So we open with, I will catch spiders, but you should teach me how to do some sign language. Deal? So this is a little bit teasing, as overall was good. Opener is good, shows value by telling her we can catch spiders, which is the thing she's struggling with. Makes it fun by making an exchange for her teaching language skills, right? I think she also had that on her profile. Okay, so she agrees, that's good. There's nothing more for her to reply, so that's not super engaging. Yeah, you need to understand that whenever you send a message, you should analyze what can she potentially reply to this. If the answer that she can give is only like a yes or a no or a maybe or like something very tiny, it's a lot different from like, hey, tell me like your most beautiful childhood memory. If you open with like, hey, tell me your most beautiful childhood memory, you're going to run into a problem because like we talked before, you ask for so much engagement from that point onwards. That's not what we want to do. So in the beginning, it's fine if it's a little bit less of value that you're asking her to put into the conversation. So first of all, I really appreciate what you do. This is a compliment, but it doesn't really do much, right? Like, I think she works in some sign language stuff, right? We're not gonna like get higher in the hierarchy point by giving her a compliment about it. So it's like mediocre. Second, I can protect you from anything, even lions, but I can't help you with spiders. So this is a big, big, big mistake. So protect you against lions, that's a tease. That's fine. But then you have massive mistakes because here we don't have congruency with the opener, right? Like, but I can't help you with spiders, but that's exactly what we said here. I will catch spiders. That's a big problem. Because like if we have the conversation, here we say one thing and here we say another thing, that's a big problem because like we need to be consistent in what we message. Because otherwise people are going to be like, oh, are you lying to me? Like, what the heck is going on? She replies with, so you were lying about catching spiders. And as you can see with the emojis, she's not very happy about it. Big reaction out of her purely for the fact that we lied about it, right? Now this message, if you make me fall for you, I will find the courage to deal with them. Now this is actually a good message, right? So here is a very good recovery, makes an actual conditional based on how well she performs. This is a challenge. So remember like the shit test that we had prior, right? Where she was like, oh, you need to do X, Y, and Z. I need a convincing argument. Here we're doing the same thing, but we flipped it around where she's like, well, if you make me fall for you, I'll do it, right? And then she, as you can see, she replies good with it by saying, gosh, I better try my best then, right? So she agrees to the challenge and shows interest. This is good. So even though you mess up one time in a conversation, this does not mean that the conversation will die and you will stay forever single and cry yourself to sleep. Probably not gonna happen. Although, if you stay horrible at texting, it might happen. So better pay attention. All right, so he says, haha. Okay, so this haha is completely unnecessary. Like, it doesn't add anything. You need to understand that when you say things, we're dealing with text space. You cannot show a smile. You cannot have body language. You don't have a lot of things. So all the things that you have is like these letters on your screen. Only things you have. So pay attention. Don't say things unnecessarily. You can do that fine if the conversation is going amazing and you're bullshitting. Totally fine. But in the early stages, pay attention to what you're saying. So you like to travel. Which countries have you visited so far? Okay, so now we're getting more into the stage of building some comfort, getting to know each other a little bit, right? Regular comfort building, looking for things in common. Okay, so now she sent a whole long ass fucking message. Okay, so well, I've visited a few, but I haven't really traveled them. I've just been on holidays, but I really like to travel. It's like slow travel, these countries, but in general, I've been to these and these places, right? So very elaborate explanation on where she's been, lots of topics to go to depth. You can talk for an hour just from this one message, which is good. A message like this is a goldmine for us. You can reply to this perfectly. You can even refer to this multiple times. Okay, so how are we replying? Have lived in language. Make sure that your language is on point. I have lived in 10 countries, spending at least 2 months in each: Germany, Austria, Georgia, Saudi Arabia, and so on. All right, she didn't ask for it. In this scenario, it would be better to either talk about what she did or find a bridge between her topics and our topics. So, for example, slow traveling or living in a country, right? She's saying one thing, and we want to say the thing that makes us cool, which is living in different places. She'll like that, right? As you can probably see later, she'll like that. So, for example, if we find a bridge between one of the countries, that might work, or a country that we want to go to, whatever. I always wanted to visit Egypt because I really love its history, but I haven't been able to go there due to my busy schedule. Okay, this message would be fine without the first message. The goal here is to show some value that we're busy, but it's so. Are the pyramids as amazing as they look in pictures? Okay, so this is a question to get her excited about something that she has done. All right, so, oh, whoa, that's interesting. Which one was your favorite, right? So this works. It's just how you frame it. You can have a concept that works, but the concept needs to be packaged in the right way. If the concept is packaged wrong, it can either do meh or it can just flop. So she applied to a value even though it wasn't calibrated. Yeah, they were, but it didn't go inside. It was only 14 and I was a bit scared of being claustrophobic. Haha, kind of regret it now. This is a very good message because you can use this, kind of regret it. You can use this as ammunition. She invests into the conversation because of the triggering question and gives ammunition for us to use. All right, so here we have our favorite country. You were there and it didn't go inside. It's a shame. We're dealing with a case where it's push-pull, right? So here, this is a scenario where we have a punish/tease. You don't always need to be super friendly, right? You were there, but you don't go inside. It's a shame. Now, let me explain to you why this is relevant. If you have a conversation with a girl on a dating app, you have positives and you have negatives. This goes for all the conversations that you're having with women or with people in general. So when you're positive too much, always, this is what's going to happen. If you're going to be positive, you're going to end up in a scenario where you're super nice and you're friend zoned, right? And that's not what you want. But if you're always negative, you're going to become an asshole and you're going to have no friends, right? So you cannot always be in the negative and you cannot always be in the positive. So this is what positive, this is what nice guys do, super oh, compliment, always compliments, right? And this is what people that are assholes do. They're just no interest, very little replies, challenging everything. Oh, you're not better than that, or oh, I'm better, or showing off constantly, right? That's not what you want. As you've seen, overall, we were quite positive in this interaction. So there's no problem right now to after going all this positive, to go a little bit negative. And then after that, we can go positive again. And we can say happy things and happy things. Oh, I'm a little bit disappointed in myself, right? Oh yeah, I can understand that you're disappointed, but maybe now you're not that much of a scared person anymore. So maybe now you'll finally have the strength. And if not, I'll carry you there, right? So by saying that she doesn't have the strength and all that kind of stuff, we're helping this conversation. because we're helping to the point where it's negative, but this creates a plus, because people don't want to have either one of those. They want to have both. You want to have both positive and you want to have both negatives. And if you're not able to like give negatives to people are going to be bored. Like, this is how you get to the scenario where people will like you. And you need to understand that even though you might think that this like sounds evil, like they want this to happen. They want to have a back and forth. They want to feel your power, and they want to be in a scenario where sometimes you say negatives, or you call her out, or you tease her, all those kind of things. There's so many guys out there that you'll just give compliments and compliments and compliments. And what's the end result of giving that like 20,000 compliments? It's a friend zone. It's not going to get you anywhere. She doesn't want friend zones. Do you understand that she wants to have some friends, obviously speaking? It's totally fine if they're girls, guys, whatever. But at the same time, you want to have a lover. And a lover, it's totally fine if sometimes he's an asshole. Like, they want that. They will not admit it. They will not tell you, but it is a reality. Just look at like people that are able to have very deep connections with people. Like, it's based off of that fact that there are negatives in their interaction. So this is how it should be going for you. You should have the ability to make a line that goes like this. Doesn't have to be that many times where you doesn't mean that you constantly need to go back and forth in your line, but you need to have some level of negatives included in your texting. So here we have like, oh, you were there but you didn't go to the site. Oh, that's a shame. So here we have like a slight punish, but it's not that bad. And then we follow it up with, maybe we should go there together and say hi to the pharaohs, right? So we have the negative and then we attach a positive towards it. Best to avoid chatting errors. Good bridge to start with us framing. When you say like, oh, we can go there together, you're using us framing. So us framing is a principle where you and her go together to do a certain activity. Okay, now she replies, ooh, what country? I know I'm disappointed in myself, haha. See how nice she replies to the fact that we like had a slight tease and a slight punish? Super happy. Slight penalty is perceived well and it worked. That's what we want. She didn't flip out. Nothing bad went on. Alright, maybe we should. You can hold my hand when I get scared. See how much she showed interest after sending this? Randomly goes to the point where she's like, oh, let's hold hands, right? Anyway, the us framing worked and she flirted with us. This is a great sign. If women start flirting, you know that the bag is in. Like, you did a great job. You want to have women flirting with you. This is the only reply we sent. The best food, nice people, and okay. So this message is related to the country, which is a big mistake, right? Because she just flirted with us. Like, we want to acknowledge that and reward her for that, right? When she shows interest, it's very important to accept it and reward it. Otherwise, she will feel shut down for flirting with you, right? Like, for a woman, it's a lot of possible negativities when it comes to like flirting. That's why in general, women don't flirt that much with guys because they lose face if it goes bad. So that's in general when they try to avoid it, and why guys need to go up to girls. So if they end up in a scenario where they find the courage to do it, make sure you reward it. Say like, ooh, yeah, that might sound very interesting, ooh la la, right? So after this, there's nothing being sent for like almost 2 days. All right, so some storytelling. Okay, so now it's like after Egypt, we should go there. We can hold hands while the sun is going down, casting a warm glow over the world, right? So there's some storytelling involved into like, oh yeah, we can do this, and like future planning. The only problem is there's 2 days in between, right? If you're like sending messages back and forth, and then there's 2 days after she send a message that is like very flirty, it's a problem. But we shouldn't forget to kiss. Yeah, so this message is a little bit too early, right? Talk about kissing, definitely in this situation can be a little bit tricky here, purely because like we send a message, but this should be here, like this should be attached to it. Like we cannot like, oh, I like you, and then like, yeah, the food there is nice. This is overall just bad. Conversation notes, timing is very important when it comes to texting. Be aware of that. Second point is congruency within messaging is very important for trust. Remember the spider example? And lastly, watch out with sexualization via text. So sexualization is talking about acts of physical touch. Definitely at moments where things aren't the best. Yeah, always want to avoid it when there's things are not going good. You can potentially do it, not 100% always, potentially do it when things are going well. If not, don't do it. Okay, so definitely at moments where things aren't the best, like when you haven't replied in a while. And we hope you learned a lot about like how conversations go and like a deep analysis. If you want to see more of these videos, let me know in the comments and see you in the next video. Bye bye.